Hey everyone, welcome back to another video on my channel. It's so bright and sunny. It's absolutely lovely. It wasn't too long ago when I feel like I made my first video in this very place, probably about 100 meters to the left of me. I tried to film it there again, but I don't have a bag to sit on this time that is waterproof, so I am sitting here. This little table that somebody made in this camp and it's kind of nice. So I think it's a really critical time right now, and there's some really important things going on in the news that I want to talk about. I think today is kind of a funny day because it's the day before lockdown 2.0 in the UK, our national lockdown, our second one, and you know, I have some thoughts around this, but I think it's a really critical time because we're approaching winter, and you know, for many, winter can bring about things like loneliness, especially for older people who are isolated, and particularly at this time as well, being in lockdown. And you know, there's Christmas, which can bring sadness to a lot of people, especially people who've lost close family members or friends. And then the other thing is seasonal affective disorder, which affects quite a lot of people. And I have some thoughts about what's going to happen and how we can deal with it, I guess. And so I think that this winter is probably going to be one of our harshest winters, and not because of the weather. I predict that what will happen after this month, obviously depending on the figures, is we're probably going to go back into a tier system. Some people predict lockdowns are going to come and go, and that totally depends on the figures. Like the figures that they said, the 4,000 was apparently an outdated statistic, and also other public services or scientists, or I think it was public services, have declared that they thought it would be a lot lower than that, and that was the absolute worst case scenario. And so no matter what you think about the statistics, that doesn't matter, because right now we're going in lockdown, whether people like it or not. And you know, my area this time I'm quite rural, and during the first lockdown there weren't that many cases, but during the past few weeks the cases have gone up quite a lot, enough, I'd say, and so it looks like our area is probably going to be hit a bit harder than initially it was. It's just how it is. I know there's a factory quite a few miles away from me, but in the same county, and there's been at least 50 cases, I think, that's gone off there. You know, my workplace is a really good foot forward, I think. You know, we have a lot of social distancing measures and cleaning measures and things that we've put in place, like pages and pages worth, and it makes us feel safer for sure. But the second wave, you know, it's predicted to be worse than the first, and we haven't even hit the peak yet. I guess several reasons for this, such as, you know, people not isolating, especially if they're not going to get paid by their employer. You know, everybody's in a different financial situation, and you know, schools and unis are open, people are going out to the pubs and clubs and things like that. I'm not sure if clubs have been open, but pubs for sure. I didn't go to the pub a lot, to be honest, in the past, but I actually miss it, strangely enough. Like, I used to go every couple of months or so to meet up with some friends, and I do miss that for sure. But yeah, I hadn't actually been to the pub since the first lockdown happened, so it's been quite some time. I think that if we're going to be facing lockdown over winter, it's going to be quite harsh on everyone, especially the elderly, who are the most at risk of ending up in hospital or dying, but they're also probably the most at risk for mental health reasons as well. So, there's a give or take on it for sure, and there's a balance to be found that I don't think anybody really knows where that balance is or should be. Everyone's having opposing opinions about things, and to the most part I can see a lot of people being respectful about that, but I can also see a lot of people being disrespectful about that, and it all comes down to our own personal preferences, our own lives, how focused we are on ourselves and how focused we are on other people, what we think is best for ourselves and other people. And it's created quite a lot of division, but it's also created quite a lot of unity as well, which is really nice to see, people helping others. And I think helping other people during this time is something that's really gonna help you and other people, and it's gonna help us get through it, basically. I think people have suggested to the government about separating the vulnerable out, putting them in accommodation where they're not living with other family members, for example, but then again, what you're doing is you're risking them being isolated even more. I think loneliness is something the elderly face anyway, particularly in winter. They're retired, most of them. As you get older, you have more health problems and you're more likely to stay indoors and not see people, and if lockdown's happening, then people aren't going to be visiting you, so it can be a lonely time. So I'd recommend, if you are a younger person, stay in contact with your elderly relatives, and even sort of like sending them things in the post is a really sweet thing to do, and I know my nan really appreciates me doing that, so something I'll continue doing, just staying in touch, making sure they're okay. You don't have to speak to them for hours or anything like that. And sometimes, we think, well, I'm too busy doing something else, but just giving a few minutes of your time thinking about them instead of just yourselves, and thinking about what it might be like for you if you were in that situation. I'm a loner. I don't particularly speak to people on the phone much, and when I'm older I probably won't do either, but I think knowing that people care about you really helps you and your mental health. So yeah, think about your elderly relatives during this time. I think that more needs to be done about mental health. I feel like if you're gonna force the whole country into lockdown, then you need to do something about people's mental health, and there's many mental health implications of this whole thing, and it's not just about the virus or being afraid of the virus. There's way more that goes into that, and I'm sure we all know what those things are. It's a really hard time, and I think I've even struggled with my mental health during this period of time, and I know I already have some anxiety anyway, but I think especially if people already have mental health conditions, or if they're particularly vulnerable at this period of time, it can be really tough. And yes, speaking to family is really great and people who care about you, but what's also helpful is having somebody there who doesn't know you and you can just talk to. So having things like having people who can talk you through like coping mechanisms and things like that, and doing like things like CBT and stuff like that could be really beneficial right now. But unfortunately, with the long waiting times, it can be hard to have access to this, and if you want to pay, if you want to go private, if you can afford that, then that is great, but you're in a privileged position to do so, because many people can't afford to do that, at least regularly anyway. In the UK, mental health services, they needed a bit of improvement anyway, shall we say. So now they need improving so much more, and I wish that more money was being invested into those services as well as everything else right now. And also in the news, the US election is all over the UK news. I don't know if you're American or not from the UK or wherever you're from, but it is all over our news right now. It's the main headlines, the main stories is the US election. And actually a few days ago it was reported in the UK that places and buildings in the US are being boarded up to prepare for the riots that are probably going to happen after the election result is announced. Yes, the riots. The last time I looked this morning, I think Biden was ahead, but actually might take days for all the votes to be counted. It's just the American system is like that. And to me it seems a very inefficient method, but it is what it is, you know. Apparently both Trump and Biden are kind of claiming victory right now, even though Biden is actually ahead, but who knows how it will go. Apparently there's already protesters outside the White House, and I did read that somebody had already beaten another with a baseball bat. Lovely. So, you know, it's not a question of whether there will be these protests and riots, because of course it seems that it's going to be imminent, or that it's happening already when the result hasn't even been announced. I know I'm laughing about it, but I don't understand why people have to resort to violence in these situations. I think this is just another example about how opinions differ and how disrespectful some people can be over other people's opinions. And even if you find their opinion harmful, the way that you're going to change the world or change how people view things isn't by being violent, it isn't by being really emotional, it's actually by being clear-headed, rational. And I can understand why people are angry for sure, but you're never going to win someone over. And it's not just about bashing the opposing side. As you're seeing so much, it's about the facts of the situation. And you know, there seems to be like a huge division in the US right now. It seems to be 50-50 or 40-60 or however it is, and you can see that clearly in the way the votes are coming out. But you know, for a long time I've seen people talking online about these opposite opinions that they have about racism, abortion, you know, etc. And it always gets heated. Everything I've seen, it's always heated. It's never a mature conversation. And that's one way that's one thing I would definitely say. It is a lot of bashing, a lot of disrespect, and I can see how that would lead to violence. I don't think there's anything wrong with a good debate, but again, I can't see how, if you want to change someone's opinion on something by shouting at them and having a go at them, is going to help. It's the same with opinions on so many different morality issues. And everybody is actually entitled to their own opinion, even if you think it's wrong or bad. It's like some vegans attacked me because I said that I hadn't got my dog neutered, and this was a few years back when I was thinking about whether I should go vegan or not. And actually they honestly put me off because they were being so nasty to me that I hadn't got my dog neutered, and because they were acting towards me like that, I felt defensive. I didn't feel, oh, this is such a nice community, this is something really good, these people are really nice people. In fact, I just saw the people who were attacking me as just being nasty and uncaring and unkind and not considerate of other people. And I don't see how getting emotional and attacking somebody in such a way really helps with your point and your cause. I think it needs to be done rationally. Everything in the US in the past few weeks, from what I've read and seen online, has all seemed to be a lot about politics. But, you know, there's just this huge division that is going to tear people apart. I think it does affect the UK in some ways. You know, we're allied with America, we're influenced by them through social media and through TV, movies, and yeah, it's just in the news a lot, you know, and it's all over the internet. Like, I watch so many people's videos on YouTube who are American, so it does matter to us, and we are influenced by America for sure. You know, I hear people talking about the election and who they want to be president and all of this sort of thing, and what they think about certain things and how the media will spin certain things. And, you know, it does affect us for sure. But when the UK has a vote. I mean, I know we're such a smaller place, but when we have an election, you don't see like all of this mass violence, and it's just shocking. Like, everybody has a right to protest for sure. I don't know why you would do it in a violent way. That doesn't really help your cause. Like I was saying earlier, I don't think it helps anybody's cause. It just makes your side look bad, in my opinion anyway. But in fact, it's both sides, and it's not everybody in the US who tends to go towards violence. I know it's probably quite a small percentage, but it's not good, and I'm not looking forward to seeing the news in the next few days and seeing what it brings, basically. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the UK's terror threat level, because it's now been raised to severe. You know, we've seen attacks in France and Vienna, and actually they've made a connection that both times it happened the day before those places went into lockdown, and today is that day for the UK. Whether there's a connection or not, I don't know. Like an actual meaningful connection there that could mean that an attack is going to happen today, or an attack is going to happen in another country the day before they have lockdown. I think Europe are the ones who are going to see more terror attacks. I don't think it's just the UK, and it's horrible to think about, but it doesn't mean that we're definitely going to have an attack. And we're going to lockdown, which can only be a good thing for this. You know, there's another level called critical, which means that there will definitely be attack in the near future, and I think they need to have actual evidence of that, probably, I would say, to say something like that. So will lockdown save us? Who knows? But you know, I think it's important just to be a little bit more alert when you're in public, I'd say. But you know, it's difficult. It's really difficult. You can't prevent these things from happening. Well, we can't, as the public, we can't prevent them from happening. But we can report if we see something. We can report it if we feel that something's off with it. You know. But no one in their right mind would do anything like this. It's shocking and disturbing, and I don't think I'll ever understand why it happens. So what can you do during all of this chaos? I'd say, you know, keep safe at home. Don't constantly check the news all the time. Just keep in contact with the people who in your lives who you know are isolated. Have a distraction, a way of escaping. For me, I like to come into nature. I like to do arts and crafts and be creative. Do something to help others. Try and do some kind of exercise. I know it's hard, but just going for a walk might be, you know, it's easy to do. It's not strenuous or anything like that, but it will still get you out of the house and get your body moving a little bit. Just rest up and know that things, you know, that this will be over. This is not forever. I cannot stress that enough. I have this little note on my computer that says this is not forever. I recommend you do the same. It's just a little reminder that anything you're struggling with, it's not going to be forever. And you know, this will be over soon. I think if you are, I know it's cold and it's getting cold, and I think it's more important than ever to get outside and be in nature. You know, you're not going to get COVID in the woods. I don't think. I've barely seen a soul here. I'm very lucky I can come here, and I don't know if I'll be able to come here again because I'm not quite sure what the actual rules are, but it's about a 40 minute drive from my house. Maybe I'll be okay. I might, we'll see. I'll decide another time. But I hope you're all keeping well. If you're in another country, I would love to hear some of your opinions on this. What's going on in your country, because that does interest me, but I don't see so much of it in the news. I mostly see about America, to be honest. And if you are in the UK or the US, let me know your opinions on the things that I've spoken about. Yeah, I hope you're keeping well. I hope you're okay. So it's not going to be a nice winter. but we'll get through it, and I will see you again in another video.